Hey, what's up everyone? Today we're going to see how to do an helicopter. We're going to use this helicopter that is free on the marketplace. So the first thing, we're going to use the vehicle component to do all the control for our helicopter. There's different way to do helicopter. I found after trying all the ways that this one is the easiest way to understand. So we're going to jump in the helicopter here. I'm going to start my helicopter. As you can see, I have the speed, the altitude, the amount of flare that I can shoot, that my helicopter is on, and that I have 100 health. So I can go up with my helicopter. I'll be able to go down. If I move to the side here, using the mass of the vehicle, it's going to make my helicopter move in this direction. Okay. So when we're close enough from the ground, you can see there's some dust. And when I'm very on the ground, I can turn off my helicopter here. I can press X and I exit so I can go wherever I want with my character. I can go back to my helicopter, start the helicopter once again, and after getting the speed, the rotation that we need, so we can go up. And we have some flare on the helicopter by pressing space. So we have the flare here. You can see we have 72 flare remaining. And if I press again, same thing happened. So we can still go up. Just gonna land on the top here. The control is pretty good. It gets some time to get used to it because it's going by the mass. It's not just many other games that you just press, W and the helicopter go forward. So it's really important to understand this because basically I could go forward with the helicopter, right? And if I can even do a back flip if I want with the helicopter here. Okay, maybe not realistic, but we can still do that. We can do that on the side as well. Okay, we have full control on the helicopter here. So using the vehicle component, it's gonna make our life very easy. So let's just jump right into it and see how we can control this helicopter and make it work. Well, the first thing that we have to do is getting the asset that we need. So we're gonna go to the marketplace here and we're gonna search for the Blackhawk. And when we have this, we're going to import that to our project. So if your project is open and you already have other other visioned asset, you may have a conflict and it's going to say that the asset is already in your project when it's not. So to fix this issue, you need to have your project closed. You should be able to import that to your project. So we're going to click to add to project. Here you can type the name that you want. So for me, I know it's YouTube, so I'm gonna put YouTube here and can show all project, and everything that has the name of YouTube will appear here. So I'm gonna use the YouTube vehicle 5.1 because I have the other video that I did for the other vehicles, and I'm gonna put the helicopter in this project. Now we have the version, so we can select this by clicking on the arrow, and we're gonna use 4.27, and we're going to add to project. It may tell you this because I already had that to the project. However, if you don't have this in your project, you should have no problem. So we're going to click yes. It's going to put that to my project. Now we're going to create the blueprint for our helicopter. As you can see here, if you go under the folder of visual and content, under vehicle, you should have a folder called West Heli UH68, and we have our helicopter right here. So we're going to use this asset to do our blueprint. So we're going to go back to my stuff here, or wherever you want to put your helicopter. Here I already created a folder for my helicopter. And here I'm going to right click here and we're going to do a blueprint class. And now we're going to use the vehicle component. So what we have to do, we're going to search for wheel vehicle component. So we have our vehicle pawn here, and we're going to click on this. If in any case you don't have this, I'm going to show you how to make it happen. So first I'm just going to call that BP underscore UH68. So if you don't have the wheel vehicle component, I'm going to go to plugin and we can search for CAS, and you have here the vehicle plugin. And make sure that you have that in your project, so that way you'll be able to basically have your wheel pound vehicle. Back to our blueprint here, we're going to go in our blueprint, and here as you can see here, you know that you have the good one because the parent class on the top right corner, it's a wheeled vehicle pound, so we know that we have the good one. And here we have the name of our blueprint. We have the mesh. Right, so we're gonna take our mesh here. First, we're gonna select our helicopter. So you can scroll down to get your helicopter, or you can just type the name. So because I don't have too much in that project, it's just saying West Illy UH68. So I'm gonna select this. And now as you can see, we have the helicopter, and we can compile this, and now we have our helicopter. So the first thing is done. There's different thing to do here for making everything work, but we're gonna try to go slow here and do one thing at a time to not get too confused. We may come back and forth, obviously, because there's different things that we have to add, and I don't want to add everything at once here. So we're just gonna try to go by stage, so it's gonna be easier for us. Down here we have the vehicle movement component. So we're gonna click on this. And this basically it's what will help us to control the helicopter. Okay, so there's different setting here on the side. What I'm gonna check here, we're gonna use the wheel friction position from the legacy one. So I'm gonna check this. And under the wheel setup here, we're gonna add 3 wheels because our helicopter has 3 wheels. So as you can see here, we have 3 wheels. So we're gonna add those wheels. So we're gonna make sure that we have the vehicle pound selected here, the vehicle movement I mean, and under the wheel setup, we're gonna click on that 3 times. It's gonna create us 3 index for our wheels. The next thing that we have to do, selecting our wheel that we need. First, we have to get the wheels here, so the wheel class. So you can create it manually or just by clicking here on the plus. We're gonna create one for the 2 wheels in front and another one for the wheel in the back. So we're gonna click here on the plus. It's gonna ask the name that we want to give to this. So what I'm gonna do first, I'm just gonna go to my stuff. I'm gonna put that under my folder helicopter. And I'm gonna call this BP underscore, I'm gonna put that heli for helicopter underscore. I'm gonna put the name of our helicopter, which is UH68. And it's gonna be the front wheel. So I'm gonna put front wheel and I'm gonna save it. Now we're in our wheel, so we just have a few setup to do here. We're gonna try to make our wheel match the size of this. So I already done that, so you won't have to search for it. So I'm gonna put 30 here for the wheel radius. The wheel width, I'm gonna leave that at 20. The cornering stiffness, I'm gonna leave that at 1000. And the force multiplier is going to be 2. The next one is going to be default. I'm going to leave those 2 next as default. And we want this wheel to be affected by brake and brake. And we want also, we're going to enable the ABS. You don't have to. I'm just going to check it out because I did in the other project. And we're not going to affect those wheels by the movement because the front wheel of the helicopter does not move. And the axle type here, we need to make sure that we use that for the front. So that wheel will be the front of the vehicle. So when you have all those settings matching up, we're going to compile and we can close this because we won't need it again. We're back to our blueprint for our helicopter. We have our wheel that we did. So the other index will be the same wheel. So we're going to select the front. And now we're going to repeat the same process, but the back wheel. So what we're going to do, we're going to click on the plus. We're going to place that at the same place, so in our folder. And I'm going to call that BP underscore heli underscore UH60A underscore rear wheel. And I'm going to save that. So it's going to open it for us once again, as we already did that. So it's going to be very, very similar. So the first thing is the axle type. We're going to use the rear one for this one. And the wheel is a little bit smaller, as you can see, compared to this one here. You can see there's a big difference. So the number that I think find a work well is going to be 20. And all the other setting will remain the same. Here we're going to make sure that it's affected by handbrake and also by ABS. And if we want to, we can be affected by the steering wheel, because usually for that kind of helicopter, when you try to turn on the ground, this is moving. I'm not too sure exactly, but some helicopter, the front wheel don't turn, it's the one in the back. So I'm just gonna be clicking on affected by steering wheel. I don't think so we're gonna use that, but just in case, if you want your wheel to be affected when you turn left or right, it's what you have to check here. I'm gonna compile and we can exit this. So now we have all the wheels for our vehicle. The other thing that we have to do for our wheels is selecting the bone that's gonna match this. So to do this, there's different way to go find the information. The easiest way, because we're already here, I'm gonna click on the mesh, and here we have the skeleton mesh that we use. I'm just gonna browse to it, and it's right there. I'm gonna double click to this. I'm gonna make sure I'm under the skeleton tree, and we need to select the wheel here. So if we go down here, at some point we're gonna see the wheel. So we have the front wheel. I think it's this one here, so we can zoom to it. There you go. So we have the front wheel here, and we need the right wheel, so it's gonna be this one there in the front. Let me find it here. So I just want to make sure that I do have it here somewhere. I think it's a little bit further up. Right here. There we go. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take the LF underscore front wheel underscore ENT or INT. I'm just gonna right click on it, and I can copy the name bones because it's important to have the good name. So we're gonna copy this. We're gonna go back to our helicopter. Gonna make sure that we have vehicle component selected, and the front wheel will be the index 0. So we're gonna click there and just Control V to paste the name of the wheel that we just selected. We're gonna go back to our skeleton bone. This time we're going to use the other side. So we're gonna use the front wheel. So it's gonna be the same thing, but we just changed the two first letter. We're gonna copy the bone name. We're gonna go back to our blueprint, and we're gonna copy the bone name right here. So now the only one that we have to do is the rear. So same thing, we're going to go back to our skeleton mesh here, and we need this one here, and this one is the rear right here. So rear wheel INT. So we're going to right click on it, copy the name, go back to our blueprint, and we have the bone name. I'm going to Control V right there, and we can compile that. So now on our vehicle component, we have all the wheels for our vehicle. From here, we're gonna go down the detail for the helicopter here, and we're gonna set up what we need. So we have the mechanical here, so we're gonna go down here. We're not gonna use any curve. So the max torque for this helicopter is gonna be 4,000. So I'm gonna put 4,000. The max RPM, I'm gonna leave that at 4,500, and I'm gonna leave that at 12. This one here, the brake affected 10,000, and I'm gonna leave that at 5 and 600. I'm gonna go down a little bit. We have the differential type, so I'm gonna put that at 4-wheel drive. It's not really important because we're gonna fly, but I'm just gonna put it there. And here we have all our gears. We don't need that many gears for the helicopter, so what we're gonna do, we're just gonna remove a few of them. So by clicking on the arrow under the next to the index, you can delete the amount of gear that you don't need. So I'm gonna keep 4 gears. There we go, 0, 1, 2, 3. So I have 4 gears. I'm gonna leave the number as is. I'm not gonna change anything. I'm not gonna change the setting right after. We're gonna go down slowly, make sure that you can follow. And here we have the reverse brake. So when we're gonna press reverse, it's gonna brake and also go down for our helicopter. So you can uncheck this if you don't want your helicopter to brake and go down at the same time. I think it's easier to have this than not having it. So we're gonna go down here. We're gonna make sure that the center of mass is overright. So we're gonna click on this, and basically I want that override because in case the mesh it's not centered perfectly, with this it should be doing the trick for us. So we're gonna go down here. We're not gonna change the setting here, but we're gonna change the sleep threshold. So we're gonna put that at 0, and we're gonna go down a little bit here. We're gonna expand the advance here. So we have 111. We're gonna leave that as is, and now we should add the thruster here. So we need to add one thruster. So we're gonna click on the element array right here, and we can expand this here, and it's gonna be a fix for the type. And the bone, we want to select the middle of our helicopter. So because when we're gonna go up, it's gonna go by the middle of the helicopter. So when we tilt the helicopter forward, basically we're gonna push from the axis Z here, and it's gonna push from under. So we're going to take the thrust axis, and we're gonna put 0 for the first one. So we're gonna remove that from the X, and we're gonna go to the Z value, and here we're gonna put 1. And the amount of force that we want to use, well, I'm gonna put 40,000. So if this number is not strong enough, I mean high enough, depending on what is the mass of your vehicle, you may not be able to go up or down. So this number need to be quite high, I will say, depend of the mass that we have. For this helicopter, the mass, as you can see here on the top, it's say 1500. By having 40,000, it should be more than enough to lift that helicopter. So here for the bone name, we have to select the bone name for the middle of the helicopter. So if we go back to our helicopter here for the skeleton mesh, we want the middle of it. So if we go all the way up here and we go down here, we have the cog INT, which is the middle of our helicopter, or almost the middle of the helicopter. So I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna not add, but I'm gonna copy the name. I'm gonna go back to my blueprint, and I'm gonna put the name right there. So now we do have our truss right here under the helicopter. So we're gonna go down here, just continuing to put some setting for our helicopter. And here we want to expand the torque here because we're gonna use torque for our vehicle. So we're gonna enable the torque. And here the scaling, I'm gonna put 2. I'm gonna put 0 for the steering because we're not going to use that. We're not going to use the roll torque as well. The pitch will be 2, and the torque roll will be 2, and the steering, we're not going to have anything, so we're going to put that 0, and the rotation damping, we're going to put 1, and we're going to compile that. Every time you compile, sometimes you lose, so you have to click back on the vehicle component here. So we have the target rotation here, so we're not going to use this. So we're just gonna leave it as is. We're gonna click on the stabilization or stabilize control. So we're gonna use this. So we're gonna click that for enable. So the old Z altitude, it's what's gonna help us to keep the altitude of the helicopter to not go up or down too much. So we're gonna put 10 here. Actually, sorry, I was not looking at the good. We're gonna put 50. And holding the position, it's gonna be 3. So you're gonna see later when we play with those values here, the helicopter, when we stop touching, you're gonna see that the helicopter is gonna go down, depend of the number that we put here. So I believe it's the number if is bigger, the helicopter is gonna drop more before stopping going down. I'm not too sure exactly, so I'm gonna play with those numbers and we'll be able to figure it out. But those numbers from my testing are working well. So we're gonna go down here for the vehicle input. It's gonna be the idle brake input. I'm gonna put 1, 10, and 100. I'm gonna leave it as is, and we should be good, I believe, for now. Now we're going to do the physical asset for this. that we need to be able to start moving this helicopter. So we're gonna go to the content browser here, go in the folder where we have our helicopter, and I'm gonna right click here on the content browser, and I'm gonna use the Physic here, and I'm gonna go all the way down and use the Physic Asset. And it's gonna ask me which skeleton that I want to use. Well, we want that for the helicopter, so I'm gonna select the helicopter. I'm gonna call that PHYS underscore, and I'm gonna put the UH60A, and I'm just gonna create. As you can see here, they generate some physics for us, so we don't need any of that, so we can select all of it. So we're just gonna remove, and voila. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna make that very, very simple. So we're gonna right click on the wheel here, gonna make sure that we can show all bones. So we're gonna click on that, and we're gonna go down here, and we're gonna select the middle here, so the cockpit, and we can create one asset. So as you can see here, they're gonna ask you what you want to create. So on the detail panel on the side here, so I'm just gonna expand so you can see it. I'm gonna make that very, very simple. So we're gonna do a box, and we're gonna add. So now we have the box here. Obviously, it's not exactly the way we want because it's selecting everything. So what we can do is we can just realign that box. If you unclip this, you'll be able to go exactly the way you want, and you can place it around the helicopter. So you can do that way. I want to keep that very, very simple, so I'm gonna keep it that way. Something like this. I'm gonna go to the perspective here. I'm gonna go to the left so I can have a good view here, so I can align my box perfectly with the wheel in the front of the helicopter and the back. So we can just put that a little bit smaller and adjust that perfectly like this. I think this will be good enough for now. So we're gonna go back to our perspective mode so we can see our helicopter. Now we're gonna select the wheels. So the one is gonna be LF as we did before when we were setuping our wheel, and we're gonna take the front wheel here. And this time in the detail panel here on the side, instead of a box, we're gonna use a sphere, and I'm gonna add body. As you can see here, we have one there. We're gonna repeat the same process, but for the other side. So the other side is RT, and we're gonna take the front wheel, which is this one there. Make sure that we have a sphere for the tool, not the tool, but for the detail here, for the type that we want. And we can click add. So now we have that. We only have to do the rear. So that one was rear, and it's going to be this one here. So the wheel int. Same thing, make sure that the primitive type is a sphere, and we can add a body. Now we have our wheels and the body of the helicopter. It's really, really basic. You can play with that if you want, obviously. But for this video, it will do the trick for us, so we can save. And now we're going to select all of the box that we have here, and we need to make sure that the physics type for all of them will be simulate. It's important, otherwise it's not going to go up and down, so we need to make sure it's up. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to click here. So we're going to go one by one. So simulate physics, it's there, so it's exactly what we want. And I think this use simple collision is good. I think we're good with that. So each of them need to have simulate physics. So you can select all of them at once, or you can go one by one and put simulate physics. So we're gonna do our control to go up, down, left, right. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna go back to our blueprint for our helicopter, and we're gonna go to the event graph. We can remove all of that because we don't need it for now. And we're gonna need some input action to go up and down, left, right, and to roll and all that jazz. So we have to create all the input before being able to put some movement. Because I'm using Unreal 5.1, so we're going to create some inputs. So we're going to go to my content browser here. I already have some inputs here that I have for my other vehicles, so we're not going to use any of that. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to create a new folder, and I'm going to put helicopter, and here we're going to do all the action mapping that we need to be able to control our helicopter. So first we're going to right click, and we're going to go to input, and we're going to use the input action, right? So click on this. So the first one will be IA for input action, underscore, I'm going to put that helicopter, and it's going to be move forward and backward. We're going to create another one. So right click, input action, IA underscore LE underscore move, but this time it's going to be up and down. We're going to create another one. It's going to be IA underscore, it's going to be for the helicopter, so we're going to put heli, and it's going to be our left and right. I'm going to repeat the same process once again, and this time it's going to be for our helicopter to go the steering wheel when we turn. So because we have the rolling to the side, and we'll also have turning, so this one will be our turning, so I'm going to call that steering. And I think we're good because we have our roll, up and down, left and right, and our steering. So we'll be all good, so we can compile. So now we're going to go to the left one, and here the description will be reflecting what this is doing. So it's going to be our roll, left and right. And the value type will be an axis 1D. And we can save and exit. We have our up and down, so the up and down will be very similar as well. So we're going to name this LE up and down, and it's going to be also an axis 1D, and we're going to save and exit. Now we'll have one remain. It's going to be our steering, and our steering is going to be our left and right, so I'm going to call that LE left right, and it's going to be also an axis 1D, and we're going to compile and save. Now if we go to our input, we have our 4 input for our helicopter. To make sure that we are able to use our key that we have here, we need to use an input mapping context, right? So we can create one. If you don't have one, you're gonna go on input and gonna create an input mapping context. Me, I already have one because I have other vehicles, so I'm going to use this one. So I'm just going to open it. As you can see, there's other controls, so just disregard those controls. Okay, and we're going to create the one for our helicopter. So by clicking on the top here for mapping, it's going to open this here, so we can click on the arrow and select the control that we need. So left and right, we have to decide what key that we want to use for having our helicopter roll to the left or the right. So first, if you click on the keyboard here, I'm going to use A on my keyboard to turn left, and I'm going to create another one. So I'm going to click on the plus, and I'm going to click on the keyboard and click D. So A and D will make my helicopter roll to the side. So even that, to make that a little bit easier to understand, here we have our control left and right. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to rename this, and I'm going to add roll left and right, so it's going to be easier to remember what this one is doing. So we're going to expand those two there, and we need to do a little modification to the left side. So when we roll left, so on the trigger here, we're not going to add anything, but on the modifier, we're going to click on the plus, we're going to click on the arrow, and we're going to select negate here, because as you probably know, when we press A, it's -1, and when we press D, it's +1. So we want a -1 when we press A, so we put a negate. If we don't put a negate, well, regardless of A or D, it's going to go in the same direction. So it's not what we want. So we can save this. So we should be all set for that. We're going to add a new one. This one will be forward, back. So to go forward, it's going to be W for me. And to go backward, I'm going to click on the plus here. And I'm going to click on the keyboard and click S. As you know, W is +1, and S, because S is backward, it's -1. So same as the other one, we're going to click on the modifier. I'm going to click on the plus, and I'm going to scroll here and get the negate modifier, and I can compile. So now if I click W, it's going to be +1. If I click S, it's going to be -1. So it's going to go reverse. It's exactly what we want. I'm going to add a new mapping here. This mapping will be for our steering. So we have the forward. Oh, we're going to do the up and down actually first. So up and down, you put what you want. I think it's working well when you put the left mouse to go up, and to go down, we're going to click again, and it's going to be the right mouse. Okay. So you can put what you want, but you only have too many keys on the keyboard for your helicopter because I don't have a joystick. So I'm just trying to make it work. So using the mouse, it's less key that I have to use on the keyboard. So here, same thing as the other one. So we need to go up and down. So the trigger here, we're going to click and add to trigger. So it's going to be when we press and when we release. You know, if you worked before in Unreal Engine 5.1, you had for your action key, you had press and release. But now we have to add that here. So I'm going to use this right here. And I'm going to go to the trigger here. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add to trigger. It's going to be a press and release. Release right here. And also we need to add a modifier, because when I'm going to press this one, I want this one to go backward, going down, and to go down is going to be a negative value. So we need to put negate to go get our negative value, and I'm going to save that. So now we have roll left, move forward and backward, go up and down, and we have one more to do. And this is our steering. So the steering is just to turn left and right. So I want to turn left by pressing Q. I'm going to click on the plus here, and I'm going to press E. So I'm going to be able to turn left and right. Once again, it's going to be the same process as we did for the other ones. So it's going to be a trigger. I mean, not a trigger, but we're going to have press and release. So we're going to click on the trigger here. We're going to click that twice. We're going to select press and release. And we're going to do also a modifier, because Q is a negative value, because we want to turn left, so it's -1. So we're going to click on the modifier for the array, and we're going to select negate. And now we're going to go to E. Here we're going to add to trigger, which will be the same as above. So press and release. And we're going to save this. And now we have all our control for our vehicle. We have the roll left and right, the move forward and backward, move up and down, and to turn left and right. From here, we're going to start using the input action that we created to do our logic for moving our helicopter. So we're going to go to the blueprint for our helicopter. We want to make sure that we are under the event graph here. We have the viewport, construction script, we don't need that, and the event graph here. So we need to be in the event graph. So right click here, and we're going to search for our helicopter, and we're going to take the steering. So we have our trigger, started, ongoing, cancel, and complete. So we're going to use the trigger, because as you remember, we use pressed and release. So we're going to use the trigger. So we're going to drag from that, and we're going to add, and we're going to add some control. And we want to control the yaw here, because it's going to be our left and right. So we're going to click on this, and we're going to make sure that we have that to the cancel and complete. and we're going to drag here, and we're going to add our set input. So we're going to need to take our vehicle component movement, just drag it on the board here, can drag from that, and set. We need to set our yacht input, and we can put it right there. So the value that we want to change is going to be our action value here. So the control for the yacht and the set input, we're going to connect that both. Now we shall be able to turn left and right with our helicopter. No more code required because the vehicle component is going to take care of that for us. So we're saving a lot in the code here by using this method. Now we're going to do the control. So we're going to search for our heli once again, and it's going to be our roll left and right. So we're going to take our left and right, so right here. And same thing, we're going to drag from trigger. We're going to add control, and we're going to take the roll. Going to make sure that it's connected to cancel and complete. And we're going to connect the value to the action value right here. And same as we did above here, we're going to take our vehicle movement component. We're going to drag from that, and we're going to set our roll input, and we're going to connect this to the action value like this, and we can compare. Now we're all done. So just before I forget, so what we're going to do, we're going to select the steering here, press C on our keyboard to do a command. I'm going to put control, and I'm going to put left and right. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to put that green because I know this code is working. So green's going to tell me that I don't have any error when I'm going to play in that code here because it's green. Not because it's green, but I know the code is working. So if there's any problem, I know that it's not going to be there. So I'm using, it's just a color code to make that a little bit easier. I'm going to click here on the show bubble so we can see that on the top here. We're going to repeat the same process for the one below. So we're going to put control, and this one will be our left and right. So left and right. Actually, I did a little mistake here. I just saw that. Just gonna put the green color here. It was the steering here, so I'm just gonna put steering. This is the roll, so it's gonna be roll left and right, and we have our steering here. We need our up and down, so we're just gonna drag here, and we're gonna search for our helicopter. We're gonna take our up and down. The up and down, same thing. We're going to drag from that here. It's going to be a little bit different, the up and down. So we need to create a value. So we're going to drag the action value right here. And I'm going to promote this to variable. And we're going to plug it to the trigger, cancel, and complete. We're going to hold B on the keyboard to do a branch. And I'm going to plug those two together. We're going to drag from the value here. And we're going to search for equal, and if it's not equal to 0, we're going to plug it right here. And from that, we're going to, so if it's true, we're going to drag from that, and we need another variable to our player altitude. So to get our player altitude, what we need, we're going to get our actor, and we need the location of our actor, and we're going to click on the return here, and we can split the structure because we only need the Z value because it's up and down. So we're going to drag from this Z value, we're going to promote this to variable, and I'm going to plug it in true here. We're going to use that a little bit later when we use the animation. And here, we're just going to rename this value here. It's going to be player altitude. So it should look something like this. So we're going to select all of that, create a command by pressing C on the keyboard, and this will be our control, up, down, same thing. I'm gonna put that green, and now we have one more to go, and it's gonna be our forward. So we're gonna click on the board here. We're gonna search for Illy. We're gonna take our forward and backward. Same thing, we're gonna go from trigger, and we're gonna add control. It's gonna be our pitch. Gonna make sure that it's on cancel and complete, and also the action value. We're gonna take, as we did before, the vehicle movement component. Gonna drag from the vehicle component. We're gonna set pitch input. We'll plug it right there, and the pitch need to be connected to the action value right here. We're gonna select all of that, press C to do a little comment, and this is gonna control our movement. So control movement forward and backward. Gonna put that green as well, and I'm gonna click right here to have the little bubble on the top. There we go. So now we have all our controls. So we have our steering, which is left and right. We have our roll, left and right. We have up and down, and we have our movement forward and backward. From here, we're gonna add the helicopter to the map. So if you go to your map here, and you take the blueprint for your helicopter, you can put it right there. We're gonna make sure that the auto process player will be 0 on the detail panel here. So it's gonna make us start with this helicopter. If we do play, you can see that we're under, but if we take control of the helicopter, you can see that our control are working, okay? But we need to modify the camera because now we are looking under and it's not what we want. I'm gonna go back to our blueprint, go to the viewport, and with the mesh selected, we're gonna search for a spring arm, and with the spring arm selected, we're gonna add a camera. So the spring arm, we're gonna change the value of the target arm here by, we're gonna put 2000. So it's gonna bring that way back. We're gonna put an offset on the Z value for the socket offset of 500. It's gonna bring that up here, and we're gonna go down here, and we're going to use control pound rotation. It's important. You can put your on it, and it's gonna tell you exactly what it's doing for you. So we're gonna go down here. We don't want the roll, so we're gonna remove this. I don't want the spring arm to be affected by roll, so we're gonna uncheck. I'm gonna go down here and component this, it's good. We're gonna put some camera lag because I believe it's optional, but it just look better in my opinion, so it's why I'm putting this. So we can compile this. So now we're gonna go for the camera, and we're gonna check the setting for the camera, make sure that everything is fine as well. So now we have a camera here, but we want the camera to have a little inclination. So we're gonna go here for the rotation. I'm gonna put -10. So the camera is gonna point down. So it's giving a better view, but you can play with this number if you like something else. Now on the spring arm, one more thing, we have to put the location at 140. So it's gonna bring this up like this. So we need to change that, otherwise you may clip through the floor, and the parent socket will be our cog_int. So it's going to attach the camera to the middle of the helicopter, and we can compile. And from here, if you try it, it's not going to work yet. Some movement will work, but it's not going to work. It's not going to fly yet because we still have some controls to do here. So we're going to go for the event tick, and here we're going to do the logic that's going to make our rotor speed turn. So the two rotor, so this one here and this one here, will update the animation. So by using the event tick, we're going to have the good value to it. And at the same time, with the event tick, we'll be able to use our action value that we set up here. And the player heisted, actually the action value, I'm just gonna rename that action value up, down, just so we know what it is exactly. So we're gonna go to the event tick here, and we're gonna start the logic. So we're gonna drag from that, and here we need to set our rotor speed, the rate for our rotor speed, at which rate we want this to turn in the animation graph. So what we're gonna do, we're going to take a variable. We're going to create one. So we're going to create it. So we're going to call it main rotor speed rate. And we're going to set it. So we've just drop it on the arrow. It's going to set this for us. We're going to drag for the main rotor here, and we're going to search for fin enter, which is going to make the transition between the number smooth. So it's going to look better. It's not going to be snappy. So we're going to, the current here is going to be our main rotor rate speed. The target will be 25, and the delta time will be get world, and we're going to take the delta second, and the enter speed will be 0.2. So if you put your cursor on it, you can read what it's doing, but it's just helping the transition between the numbers to be more smooth, so it's look just better because it's going to affect our rotor. So we don't want that to be snappy, go on off. So we want that to, if it goes faster or slower, we just want that to go slowly, changing to the new number. It's why I'm using this. So here the main rotor speed rate, we're gonna go there and we're gonna drag from that, and now we need a new variable which we're gonna create. So we can go here on variable, and we're going to not search, but type main rotor speed, and we're going to take that and just set it. We're going to make a little bit of space between. So we're going to do search for plus, and we're going to plus the speed of the rate plus the rotor speed, which is going to give us our rotor speed basically. And we're going to drag that to a branch. You can all be on your keyboard to do a branch, or you can just search for a branch, and the condition will be greater. So we're going to search for greater or equal, and it's going to be our speed rate. So we're going to take that, do a get, and just plug it up here, and it's going to be 15. So if it's greater than 15, it's mean that it's going to be true. So we're going to go up, and we're going to be able to do hovering mode later and keep our altitude. But if it's false, so we're going to go from false at this time, and what we're going to do, we're going to set our throttle. So just search for throttle. So if you select throttle, it's going to give you automatically the vehicle movement component, which is right here. And the throttle, it's going to be our action value here. So the action value up and down. You can just do a get and put it right there. And we can compile. Now if we try, you're going to see some things going to happen, but it's not going to work quite yet. But we can just try it out so you can see. So if I press up, you can see that the helicopter is going up and slowly going down. Okay, so if we do that again, you can see that we can go on the side. It's kind of working right now a little bit. Not quite good yet, but we're getting there. So we can see that there's something happening, but because it's not all done, obviously it's not working very, very well. So we're just going to select all of that. And we're going to do a little comment on this. And this will be writing up. So it's going to update the location, the altitude, and the control of the helicopter. Okay, in real time. There we go. So now we're not done, but this, we're going to have more code to put there. But for now, we're going to start with this altitude. Now we need a function to keep our altitude, so when we go up with the helicopter, it's need to be able to keep the altitude. We don't want the helicopter to start falling down. So we're gonna work on this. So it's gonna be very, very simple. So we're gonna right click and we're gonna create a custom event that we're gonna name keep altitude. And from that, we're gonna drag and we're gonna set our throttle for our vehicle movement component. And the throttle, we're gonna drag from that and we're gonna search for a map range clamp. And the range A will be 0 and the range B will be 10. And we're gonna put 0.7 there. And here, this one is gonna be 7. So I mean 0. You're gonna see when you move this number, it's gonna basically make your helicopter drop lower or faster. Not lower or faster, but you'll see when we play with this number. I don't know exactly how to explain that. So we're gonna do a minus here from the value, and we're gonna take our player altitude and we're gonna put it right there. And now we'll just have to get our actor location, and we're gonna split the structure from the return value because we only have concern for the Z value because it's the up and down. We want to keep the altitude for the up and down. We don't care about the two others. So now if we compile, now we have our function, so we can select all of it. Keep the altitude. It's gonna keep that constant when we're releasing the control up and down. So we're gonna move that right here. I'm gonna change the color because we're not gonna modify anything there. So now from our event tick update, we just need to put that keep altitude. So if we go down here at the end, we have our branch. If it's true that our rotor speed is above this, it's mean that we want to keep our altitude. So we're going to drag from that and we're just going to search for keep altitude, which is going to trigger this here. So let's give it a shot, see what it does now. So we're going up, and for release, she'll technically keep the altitude. As you can see now, it's not going down. We're going to have to change the camera here because we don't want the camera to do this. We just want the helicopter to do that. So if we go here, so now we see that the keep altitude is working for us, which is great. Now we're just going to do the view around the helicopter, so left and right and up and down. So we're going to use two key to do that, two action mapping I mean. So we're going to go to our content browser. Me, it's already created because I'm using other vehicle in this project, so it's already there. But if you don't have it, we're just going to create that together. So you can just right click on the content browser, go to input and input action. The first one will be your IA free look that you're going to name, and the description will be our free look, and the value type will be an axis 2D, and you can save. The next one, we're going to do same thing, so right click input action, and it's going to be our free look key that you're going to name it IA underscore free look underscore look, something around those lines. The type, the value type will be a digital bool, and obviously the action description will be free look key. You don't have to put anything there, but I like to put something. So the value type digital bool, and the trigger will be hold and release. So you can add a trigger by clicking on the plus next to your array element, and it's gonna give you access to hold and release that you can select down here. You can save and exit that. Now we have to go to the action mapping or mapping context. So it should be this one here. And when you're there, you click mapping and you're gonna add the free look key. For me, I did put left alt with no modifier. I'm gonna click again on the mapping on the plus, and we're going to select the IA free look, and this time it's going to be the mouse XY 2D, and it's really important here that it's important, but I mean not on this one, on the free look key here. We're going to add a trigger, and the trigger on the free look key will be old, so we're just going to click old. So we have to hold the key to make this work. So we're going to go back to our helicopter here, and we're just going to implement those. We're going to search for look, and we're going to take the free look key, and again I'm going to search for look, and this time we're going to take just free look. So from the free look key here, we're going to add control, and we're going to take the pitch control that we need to add. So we're going to take this, we're going to plug it to trigger and cancel and complete. The value will be this one here. You can see we cannot connect it right now. So what we're going to do, we're just going to click on the free look here, right click, and we can split the structure. So the value that we are interested in, it's Y for this one. And from the free look here, we're just going to add control, and it's going to be the yaw control, and the value will be the X right here, and complete and cancel right down here. The problem that you may see is that the camera is going to go very, very fast. So let's see, let's play. And you see when you go around, it's kind of fast, right? And if you hold Alt, same thing, right? Like you see that it's kind of fast, and we don't want that. So, well, personally, I don't want that. I think it's way too fast. So what I'm going to do is, before the value, I'm just going to divide this by 2 for both, and I'm just going to connect that right there. I'm going to duplicate this one and put it right there. So now you're going to see a difference when you turn around. It's much slower. So it's just easier to control with your helicopter. And I just noticed that when we hold Alt, it's not responding very, very quick. So we're just going to go back to our mapping context here, and we're going to expand the index. You see the hold time, it's 0.1. We want something faster. So what we're going to do, we're going to change that value for 0.1. And now if we try it, as soon as we hold Alt, we can go left and right. But you can see we can go on the side as well. We just want to be able to, I mean, we can go all around, but we will when we hold Alt, and when we don't hold it, we can just only go left and right. It's just easier when you control your helicopter, I find. So we go up. Now you see we can stay in the air, so we can control our chopper, and it's easier because we are able to move. So you see now when we go forward and backward, the view is doing that. It's not what we want. So we're just gonna fix that as well. So it's in our spring arm. We don't want to be pitch, I believe. So let's try again. Oh, there we go. Perfect. It's filled way better now. Yep. Way better. Perfect. You see we have a good control on our helicopter. So it's doing pretty much of the video of the beginning. It's not perfectly there yet, but we have a good control. So we have some stuff to make better, but we can control the helicopter now. So that's pretty good. Yep. What kind of? There we go. It was good. Anyway, so we're good with that. So we're just going to do a little comment on this here. And this one will be our control for free look. So I'm just going to select all of that. Going to press C to do a comment. And I'm going to call that control. And it's going to be free look. And I'm going to take the same color as here. So I'm just going to copy that and put it right there. There you go. Perfect. Now we're going to create the animation blueprint. So when we go and control our helicopter, the rotators will move as well. Here in our folder for helicopter, we're just going to right click. Going to go to animation and do an animation blueprint. We're going to select our helicopter that we have right here. I'm going to create that. So we're going to call that ABP for animation blueprint, and underscore is going to be for our UH60A, and we're going to open it. Here we're going to go to the event graph. We have the update animation, so we're going to search for event blueprint begin play, and here we're going to cast to our blueprint underscore UH. I'm going to take our blueprint for our helicopter. Because we need to access some variable, we need to access those two variable here, the rotator speed and the rotator rate speed. So it's why we are casting to this, so we are able to access those variable after. So here we're gonna drag from the object, we're gonna try get pound owner, and we're gonna drag from the blueprint, and we're gonna promote this to variable. So now, because we have a reference to our blueprint, we can use it down here without casting each time. So we're going to drive from the animation blueprint, and we're going to is valid. And the class will be not this one here, so we're just going to remove the try get pound owner. And we're going to take our as blueprint for our helicopter, and we're going to plug it right there. Now we want to access our main rotor speed. So we're going to get our main rotor speed, and we're going to set some variable here. So we need to create 3 more variable. So we're going to create those variable now. So it's going to be ABP main rotor. No underscore, that would be fine. Just ABP main rotor. And this one would be the Z axis, which is our, it's going to be our yaw here. And it's going to be type float. Going to repeat the same process. It's going to be ABP underscore, no underscore, sorry, RPM. And we're going to repeat the same process again. It's going to be ABP. And this one is going to be the rear rotator. And this one will be the X for roll. And I think we're good with that. So now from is valid, we're going to take our main rotor. We're going to plug it to is valid, and we're going to plug this one there. So every time that our main rotor in our blueprint get updated, is going to update this one in the animation blueprint as well. So now we're going to take the rear rotator, we're going to do the same thing. I'm just going to do a set, and we're going to plug that right there. So same thing is going to happen with the rear rotator. So we do have it here, so we don't need anything else down here. So we can just compile. Now we're going to go to the animation graph, and here we need our mesh space reference pause. But before doing that, look at the top here, the parent class. It's say anim instant, but we need the vehicle anim instant. That's really, really important, otherwise it's not gonna work. So here we're gonna change the parent class. So we can go to File and Reparent Blueprint. You can just click there. And now you can select the vehicle pound. So vehicle animation instance. So we're going to take this. And now you're going to see that the parent class on the top here has changed, which is going to give us access to what we need to continue the animation with our helicopter here. So we're going to search for mesh space reference pause. We're going to drive from that. We're going to take our wheel for the vehicle. So we're going to take wheel control for wheeled vehicle. I'm going to drag from that. I'm going to search for transform. We're going to take transform modify bone. We're going to need that twice because we have the main rotor and we also have the rear rotor, but we're going to set up this one first so we won't have to do it twice. So we're going to split the rotator here. We're going to split structure, which is going to give us access to the value that we need. So we need the Z axis. So we're going to take variable. I'm going to plug this to rotation. I'm going to click on this. And now here in the bone modifier, it's going to be our rotor. So we're going to search for rotor. And it's going to be our ENT. So the first one that you have here. It's going to be all linear, but we're going to add to rotation here. We're going to add to existent. And we want the bone space, not the component space. So bone space. And now we're good with that. So now we can take this one, copy paste. And this one, instead of being the rotor, we're going to take the rear rotor. So it's going to be the first one here. All the settings should be all the same because we copy the previous node. And from there, we're going to take our rear and we're going to plug it to our X. Make a little bit of space here. And now we can just plug this to the output pose and we can compile. Now automatically it's going to update everything for us, so it should be good. And from here we'll just go back to our blueprint. We're going to go click on mesh and we're going to select the animation that we need. So we're going to select our ABP. I'm going to take the one for our helicopter and compile. And now you can see starting to move. Right, we have a little bit of problem with our controller, something that doesn't work. We can go back up, but you can see that the rotor are working. Okay, so let's fix the control. So we are going to remove this because we won't need it there. So we're going to add a new branch and we're going to connect true. And that branch here, we're going to remove from false. And here it's going to see if it's equal. I'm going to put equal, and we're going to take our action value up. Do a get, put it on the top here. And so this, if it's false, it's going to go there. And if it's true, it's going to go there. So let's try it out. So let's play. So we can go up, going down, go up, go down. You can see the trigger on the side at the same time, which is pretty good. Right here. So we're keeping altitude right now. So we can keep altitude, and as soon as we're going to press, it's going to go to the other one. We can go up and down. Perfect. So every frame, it's looking for our rotator. Make sure that we are at 25. And it's going to add the rotation speed. The rate and the rotation speed is going to set our speed. And if it's above 15, it means that it's going to be true. We're going to be able to go up or down. And if we are at 0, it means that it's true. So it's going to keep our altitude. Okay, so when we press, it means our speed is going to be above 15, not 15, but it's going to be above 0 here, which 1, 2, 3, and so forth, which is going to make us go to the throttle, so going up, because it's going to be false. And if we release the key, well, it's going to be true because we're going to be at 0, so we're going to keep the altitude. So when we try this out, and we put that right there, so now we can go up and we can go down and we keep the altitude, and we can go forward, we can turn, we can move our camera at the same time. So it's pretty good. It's hard to control when we're not used to it. but it's pretty good so far. So we can land down. Perfect. So we see that our control for our helicopter is working pretty good. Should have something like this. It can be complicated to do, obviously, but hopefully you were able to reach the final step here with me. So I believe that's going to be it for now. There's other stuff that I would like to show you, but I think we can do that in another video because this one has been quite long and it's quite exhausting to do all of that. But we can see that the vehicle is working. There's one more thing here that I wanted to show that I spoke about a little bit earlier in the keep altitude, the number here. So if you change the 0.742 for an example, where it is, oh here, right here, and you compile, you're gonna see that there's a difference when I'm gonna release the key. I'm going up, I release the key. You see the time it's take to go down. See, it's taking a little bit of time. So if you change that and you put 0.1, you see the helicopter really go down. Doesn't even stop, right? So we need to change this number, right, for something. So I found that 7 was working well, but I just wanted to show you that because I spoke about it earlier, and I think 7 is quite good. Now we're just gonna add the mapping control that we have all our control for our helicopter. So as I forget to put it earlier, I'm just doing an addition to this video to make that happen. So under the world setting here on your detail panel, if you don't have access to this, you can always click on window and add the world setting. You see that you have the game mode that you want to use, and here you have player controller class, which is my controller, which refer to this. So what you can do, you can just click here. I'm gonna click and I'm gonna add this control there. So I'm gonna add a blueprint, and you can see here we have the player controller. So we're gonna click on this and you're gonna name it whatever the name you want, and you're gonna open it. And when you open it, you're gonna start with the event begin play, and from the event begin play you can put a sequence if you want to, and you're just gonna search for add mapping context, and here on the mapping context you're going to select the mapping context that you created to have your control for your helicopter, or if you use any other context, make sure that you have your helicopter control in it. So we're going to select this one there, and now when you start the game, by default it should be this controller, which is going to refer to those input, and you will be able to use the control for your helicopter that you have right here. So you should have backward, forward, up, down, left, right for roll, and your steering. Don't pay attention to the other one. It's just that the project that I have there is further ahead than what I already showed you. So that's pretty much what you have to do to use your own control, and you should be able to control your helicopter. So I guess it's going to be this for this video because everything seems to work. So we can control our helicopter pretty well. Can even brake. So yeah, it's working. I'm satisfied with that. So yeah, it's just a matter of learning how to control the helicopter, and you should be fine. But I will leave you on this, and we'll see what kind of video I'm gonna do after this one to continue a little bit with the helicopter. So thank you for watching, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.